Hi everyone, hope you are all well. I think I sound like my sister saying that. I've been listening to too many of your videos, Rach. Anyway, it's time to get on with my Christmas tree block. So I've pulled a few things out that I want to play with, and I'm going to get the basis of the block of the Christmas tree done, and then I'll see how I go. I might do a little bit more embellishing and come back to showing that later. So firstly, I've only done the base fabric so far. I want to add some extra features. So I've got this lovely piece of, I think it might have been a doily hole there. Look, Rach, there's a hole. So I'm thinking of putting that up onto this corner just to make it a bit more interesting. And then I've got just a scrap piece of lace that's old and you can see it's stained. And I thought I might pop this one down in the corner. Now the idea for my tree is I have, this is felted wool, so I have quite a bit of this. I have done some Sue Spargo stuff and she uses this lovely felted wool. And so I've cut out my Christmas tree in 3 different layers in 3 different wools. So just roughly cut, no measuring, it's not perfect. I just wanted a scalloped edge. Rach has done trees like this before, which I like, so I wanted to sort of use that style. And I'm going to layer them up so that it will look like this. And then I've cut a little tree trunk as well, which will go down there. And then what I want to do, my plan, is to embellish my tree a little bit. So I've got this lovely, it's actually, just show you, it's over here. It's actually a little, oh, I've got other strings, a little ball of wool, which is, it feels like it's actually maybe got a bit of silk in it, which was just a scrap piece that I got at my sewing basket store. And what I thought I might do is it goes in different thicknesses. So I thought I might just couch it on, maybe like it's tinsel in, so I'll get different colours. So I'm going to play around with that. This was my little cluster idea that I was throwing together last week, playing around, just showing you what a cluster was. And I had a bit of lace on it like this, just threw everything together. So I think what I might do with this is I was thinking of stitching it up in this corner to give a bit of interest, and I'm going to put this little the charms that I think I showed you at the beginning that I got from Melanie of Purveyor of Reclaimed Textiles. I got a little charm pack and I thought I'd put that up in my cluster somehow. I'll probably put some buttons as well, and then this is just a little lace offcut. I thought that could go on top like it's my star on my tree, and do a bit of embellishing. And then I feel like I need to do something down here. It's a bit plain, so I will do something there, and then on here I want to do some just embroidery, just painted embroidery. So that's my overall plan. I'm going to start by stitching down the laces first, just to get them in place, because they will be underneath other things. So I'm just going to pin this. A bit of a mess here. So sorry I'm late this week. I actually had all the bits and pieces cut out and ready to go. I've just, as usual, super busy. I've had so much marking this week. I needed to get that done. Finish that today, and now tomorrow I start again. I've got a final year 12 for us trial exam that my boys did today, and I'll get hold of that paper tomorrow, and I'll got more marking. Marking just never ends. It's funny, I read a meme the other day about teachers that we don't stop complaining about marking, the marking we have to do, but we keep giving out the work, which is pretty funny. That's true. We are giving out the work. We have to give out the work. It is definitely the least favourite part of my job is marking. I do like it when I see the results and how the boys have done. I just hate the process of marking. I'm a massive procrastinator on marking. I really find a million other things that I need to do first before I get myself onto it. But once I do start, it's okay. But it just takes me a while to get going. So anyway, that's what I've been doing this week. It was an enjoyable task to mark, though. Really, really sweet. It was a year 7, which is the youngest boys I teach, 12 and 13-year-olds. And last term we would teach them a lot about nutrition and healthy eating and what the Australian government recommends for like healthy eating guidelines and things like that. And then the boys' task was 2 things. Firstly, they had to challenge themselves to follow the Australian guidelines to see if they could do it, and just sort of reflect on their week and what they found difficult, what they found easy, food groups that were easy to eat, food groups that were harder to eat, things that they might change during their week, so things that could be made better and what changes they'd make. So they did that, and the boys did a really good job of that. And then the second part, which was probably the more fun part, was they had to cook a healthy meal for their families. So I've got a knot. So what they did is they picked their own recipe. They had to pick a recipe that had a good balance of the nutrients. And then they had to basically tell us why they picked the recipe. They had to film themselves preparing their food, their ingredients, and then film themselves cooking, and then the presentation of their food. And then they had to obviously serve their meal to their families. And then they had to get one of their family members to review their meal and give them a score. And then they had to review their time as a chef. And it's actually a really cool little task. The boys like it. It's all a video. So it's a fun task to mark because it's just a video. It's enjoyable to watch. But there's some really sweet ones. Some of our country boys, we set the task over the holidays, so our boarders who live at school could actually go home to their properties, and some of the boys, were cooking food that they'd grown on their own farms, or meat that they had from their farm. I won't go into that. That might upset a few people, but anyway, it's country life. And so that was really cool to see some of the boarders make these beautiful meals out of, veggies and things that they grew themselves. And then, we're multicultural in Australia, so I'd get, boys from different countries cooking different types of meals. So, I had pasta made from scratch, which was awesome. One of the boys had an Italian background and made some great pasta. Gnocchi made from scratch, which looked delicious. Some of our boys made amazing dumplings. One boy even, usually kids would buy their dumpling wrappers and make the filling, but one boy actually made his own wrappers, and it's just actually really cool seeing the skills that some of the kids have. And even some of the boys had never ever cooked before, ever, on their own. So they were allowed to have a parent or a guardian. In fact, they were told they had to have a parent or guardian supervising them because we don't want them hurting themselves in the kitchen. And I think some of them are really amazed that they could cook a full meal and that it was actually good. And the parents love it because they're excited that their sons do this. And some parents even tell me that they then get their kids cooking one meal a week, which is exciting. And one of my sweet little boys, he didn't quite understand what was required for the task. So he cooked 9 meals, not 1, but 9. He thought he had to do at least 1 a day. So he literally, and he's got a Chinese background, he made the most amazing food all week. He filmed everything. So he was showing me lots of great little dishes and things that he was doing. So I'm sure his parents were super happy because he pretty much made dinner every single night for a week, which was sweet. So that's what I've been marking all week. It takes a long time because I actually have 3 classes of Year 7, and that means I marked, I think it was 65 or 66 videos, which is a lot to get through, considering some of them are, 9 or 10 minutes long. So it does take a while to get through them, but I do enjoy looking at that type of stuff. And some of the boys are super creative, like one of my really sort of enthusiastic creative kids who's full of energy. He was the one who made the gnocchi from scratch, and he was very excited about it, and he put all the Italian music in the background. Rach, you would have loved it. It was very, very, very entertaining. He's a funny little boy. So that's why I've been busy, and that's why I couldn't quite spend the time last night on my project. And of course I had hockey training on my Wednesday night. We've got one more game this weekend, then we've got a bye, and then we're into semis. So I will literally have, if we make it all the way through the grand final, I will have 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 more games left, and that's it. So I think it's across 5 weeks, so not long to go. And then a little break, and then we start summer hockey, which is just social. We don't train, we just play games midweek on the Wednesday, and it's just a short sort of season that runs up to Christmas. And then we have a big break until we start winter again next year. So what's happening in Sydney? Rain hasn't been too bad. It's held off recently. You can feel that even though it does get a little bit cold sometimes, you can feel spring is starting to come. The other morning, I think it was about 7 a.m. when we left for school, it was, I think it was like 17 or 18 degrees that early in the morning, and it's winter here. So that's not normal. It probably, when we leave in the morning, it's probably no colder than 8 degrees normally. But the other morning was so warm. We walked out in our jackets and went, oh gosh, I'll be wearing my t-shirt today. And, we're getting into the high teens. That's Celsius for people who have used Fahrenheit. We're different. And, we're quite comfortably walking around in t-shirts, even though it's winter. It's not too cold most of the time. And then my school sport, rugby, is we've got our last game this weekend, and one of my 5 teams that I work with is undefeated. So if they win this weekend, they will, I guess, take out the premiership for their division. It's my B team, 16 Bs. So they're super excited. There aren't too many teams that go through fully undefeated, and that's through what we call trial games. So they play 6 trials, and then the actual competition is not very long because it's called a GPS competition. They're called the Greater Public Schools, which I think is maybe an English thing, that public schools are actually the private schools, but in Australia there actually are the private schools, not the government-owned public schools, but it is called the GPS, Greater Public School Competition. And it's a very small group of boys' schools that are in it, and they are pretty much, the best sort of rugby schools. In Sydney, there are some other good ones that are in another comp, but yeah, these schools are very good at their rugby. So we're just about finished that. We've just got that last round, and then I basically get my Saturdays back for a little while until my son starts his water polo, which is soon. They're already got them in the pool training. It's an outdoor pool, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning once a week. We've just started a couple of weeks ago. Jamie's in the pool. The pool is heated. You can sort of see all the steam rising off it in the morning when they're in it. But yeah, he'll start to ramp that up after this week, after rugby's done, because he's a rugby boy as well. So that's been our busy life. School's always busy. School's never not busy. It's just normal. So that's what we've been up to lately. Hockey's going well. We're actually 4th, but like last week there was 2 equal seconds and we were only 1 point behind second, so it's all really tight. First place is kind of at the top. I don't think anyone can take first place. But depending on results this weekend, we could actually jump into second. But we are playing the top team, so who knows. But last time we played them, we actually beat them. We were the only team at that stage who had ever scored against them. And we were the only team, obviously, that had beaten them, being the only team that scored against them. So we've got them again. They're actually really good. So we have to be, play a really good game to beat them. And then 1 bye, and then we're into semis. We're hoping to play this team where we played last weekend. We play everyone 3 times during the competition, and then we're hoping to get this team in the semis because we found them to be a little bit bitchy last week. Just, pushing, elbowing. I don't mind a bit of physical. I actually enjoy the physical stuff. Being a former rugby player myself, I like the physical stuff, but some of it's just dirty. It's not just physical going for the ball. It's just part of the game. It's like dirty. There's this one girl who elbows us. She got penalised for elbowing me. She then pushed over another one of my teammates, and they didn't do anything about that one. They just ignored that one, even though she completely pushed her over. And then she got penalised again for elbowing another girl. And we're kind of all really wanting to play her because she's not young either. She'd be older than me. I'd say she's well into her 50s. And she's a little bit pushy. She's not the biggest girl. She's tall, but she's not solid. I'm certainly quite a solid person. She's not gonna push me over. Having been a rugby player, I'm used to that physical stuff. But we're pretty keen to try and beat them. We think that we can take them down and beat them. So we are hoping to get them in the semis. And look, they've got some good skill. They definitely have some good skill, but I actually think that we are a better team. We just need to be a bit more determined to beat them. I think they had more determination than we did. Although we had a good game. It was a high-scoring game on the weekend. We ended up drawing with them 4-4, which is a big score normally. You know, hockey games can be 1-0, 1-1, sort of 2-1, that kind of thing. But 4-4's a lot of goals in one game. They were beating us. They scored the first goal and the second goal, I think it was. Then we scored 1. Then they got ahead by 2, so it was like 3-1. I think we scored another one, etc. And then we got right near the end of the game, and it was 4-3 to them. And we got what's called a short corner. And I'm a defender. I'm the last line of defence in front of the goalie. That's my job. That's what I like playing. But I actually get to shoot on short corners because I've got a hard hit. And we got a penalty literally just before full time, and then the buzzer went before we got to take the penalty corner, but you still have to play it out because it was given before the buzzer, and they decided to give it to me, and I just whacked the ball super hard and went in. So that was pretty cool because that drew the game, which was exciting not to lose against them. So yeah. And then their name, it's quite funny. They're called Pohogs because they're pissed off hockey old girls. And it's quite appropriate because they are quite grumpy. They're not all old. Some of them are young, but there are a lot of older ones in the team, which is quite nice because I'm one of the older ones in my team. I'm thinking I am the oldest in my team now. Certainly not when I started, but I am now. And there's quite a few girls that aren't that much younger than me, but I am the oldest. And that team, most of their team is older than me, so it's kind of nice not to feel so old. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Rachel probably liked my chatty video. Okay, I feel like that's stitched down. It's just a bit of random. You can see I've gone all over the place. Just random, holding it in place. I think that'll be good. I could do a few more stitches. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So now what I'm going to do is I'll stitch the other piece of lace down. Okay, that'll do. So just knot it on the back. Just going through a few times. Okay, now, let me see. I don't think I'm going to I'm going to see if I've got a bit more of a creamy cut, actually. Yeah, see, there's a bit of a difference there. That colours might blend in a little bit better, so I'm just going to change my thread out. These are just old cottons. Heavy duty mercerized cotton, that one. 25 cents it originally cost. How cool would that have been? 25 cents. It would have been a thread that I've picked up at the sewing basket. Got to find the end. I haven't used this one. I actually think this one might be new. One way to find the end, I can see that thread there obviously is not in place. I think it's down here. It's going to come out. So if you just run your needle, if it's not, oh, yep, there it is. It's going to come out. Yep, that is new. I don't think anyone's used that, or if they have, it's not much. Yeah, so if you just run your needle under like that, you can usually find where the end is. Could get a slightly darker one, like a tea-stained thread would work well with this one. But I just need to get that one down into place as well before I put on my tree. So I think I might pause you. You don't need to watch me stitch this piece of lace down. It's the same sort of technique as the other one. And also I'm rambling a lot. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back once this piece is stitched in place and I'll show you how I'm going to stitch down my tree. Hi, I'm back. So I've stitched down this piece of lace, I've stitched down the bottom parts of my tree, and I've left this top piece so I can show you what I do with it. So I'm just using stranded cotton. This is a scrap bag of cottons that I got for $4 from the sewing basket, and I've just been pulling out colours that I think could sort of match the different bits that I'm sewing down. And what I'm doing is using 2 strands of the 6 stranded cotton. So I'm just pulling out 2. Get 2. Okay, so I'll just separate this. Sorry, it's a bit old, this thread. It's just getting, one strand's getting a bit stuck. There we go. Okay, so I've got my 2 strands. Alright, so I'll show you how I stitch my tree parts in place. Okay, ready to go now. Alright, so I'm just going to work out where I want it positioned. I think that looks pretty good. I'm not pinning, just holding it in place. Coming up just slightly from the edge, hopefully you can see, and then straight down to create an overcast stitch. Okay, so just anchor that. Little bit to the side, exact same thing, straight down, and once you've got your first stitch in place, you can start just going quicker by going under and straight back up. So very simple. Normally with felted wool, I would use wool threads, and I do have a bunch of wool threads, not as in Appleton wool. Like, you could use the Appleton wools, they would work. I was looking at my Appletons, I've got heaps, I just didn't have the right greens to go with this. I have these other wool threads. I think some of them are Suspargo threads. I think they are. Anyway, I've got these other wool threads that are really good for stitching down this felted wool. I just can't find where I've put them. I've got a heap of them. I've got a lot of different colours, but I haven't used felted wool for a while, so I have no idea where I've put those threads. And if you know me, and Rach, you can laugh at this, I have a lot of stuff. I'm definitely a little bit of a hoarder. And Rach was laughing the other day saying we both are, and Mum as well. We hoard craft supplies, and I really need to work out a system, sort them out. I've got a lot of containers and bits and pieces of things, but it's not really structured so that I can easily find stuff. But that is something I need to do. It's going to take me a really long time, and when I do that, I'll probably find my wool threads. The wool threads are good because if I have the right colours, when you stitch around using this exact same technique, they blend in, and you can barely see that it's stitched in place, which I like. Just when I'm stitching like the bits down, I'm happy for the wool, not like the thread, not to be seen. But then obviously you can stitch onto them and embellish, and then you want your stitches to be seen, and you do them in different colours and different types of threads. I don't mind them being seen here. It doesn't bother me. It's just the look. And I'm obviously using cotton instead of wool. And I learnt that sort of technique when I did the Sue Spargo class, and I've mentioned Sue before, and I have several of her books and quite a lot of her threads. I've even got some of her wools, and I did buy a block of the month for a year and have that kit. I was planning on making it for my son Jamie. It's a really cute one. It's like African animals. I have the full block of the month kit. I have done only a tiny bit of it, even though Jamie is probably too old for a African animal wool hanging quilt kind of thing. Being 16, I'd still like to do it and maybe just have it on the wall somewhere, because the ones that have been made and the one that Sue made, they're just amazing. And I really loved it. She did really cute crocodiles and hippos and things like that. It's really sweet. So, so this is the technique I learnt from Sue when I did her class, and I've mentioned this before, stitching down birds, and we stitched down the bird shapes just like this. So I'm pretty sure that was a 2-day class. So you kind of got the kit the first day and you were stitching down all your birds. I remember coming home that night and getting all my birds stitched down. And then the next day, you learnt the basics that day and cutting out the wool and the birds and stuff. And then the next day, we were doing all the embellishing. So it was quite good to do a 2-day class. Very exciting to get to work with Sue. And that was at, what was the shop called? I think it was Cottage Quilt Works up on the Northern Beaches, Warriewood, I think it was. I don't think that store's there anymore. I go to a craft studio there. Sometimes I've done quite a few classes there called Little Lane Studio. If you're in Sydney and you want to do some classes, Little Lane Studio is a good place. I like going there. I have done basket weaving, raffia basket weaving. I did a class with Brooke Munro there, who does the raffia. I've done a shibori dye class with the shibori girls. They own a craft studio called Shibori. What else have I done? I've done a watercolour painting class there. I can't remember what else I've done. I've done quite a few classes there. And that is where that quilt store used to be, in the same kind of complex, and I'm pretty sure the quilt store's not there now. I haven't seen it. I think it's gone, which is sad that some of these, lovely retail stores, they just can't survive with the cost of rent and how much they're making, that they disappear. It's sad. But anyway, I'm not doing quilting. I did a little bit, dabbled with quilting. I think we've told you that before. Did a little bit. Wouldn't consider ourselves quilters, but we have dabbled a little bit, and certainly love fabrics, so we always have bought fabrics. Okay, so I'm going to leave my cluster because I said I'd do that in a separate video. You might even be lucky that I might do that this weekend. We'll see. And I still need to do my tag. The reason I'm not doing my tag is I do now have an idea for my tag, but I need to find something that Rachel made for my son when he was little. She did this lovely embroidery on a cotton sheet, which obviously he's too big for now, but I wanted to use some of the embroideries and I just can't find in my hoardy house where I've put that. So I need to find that first before I can do my tag, because I want to put a piece of that on it. So what I might do now is I might do some of the couching. So I thought I might put some rickrack as well, some of the hand-dyed rickrack, some of this silk thread. So I might do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to couch bits and pieces in place. So I might just cut a piece of rickrack, just a small length. That one can start at the top. I probably want a contrasting thread. I think I might use just perlé perlé cotton. So I've got a bowl of cottons in front of me. I might use some of these perlé ones. So this blue is good. I think that eye will be a little smaller thread. I'll just change needles. So what I think I'll do tonight, because I do want to get my video up soon so that you can see it because it's late and I'm sure some people are waiting. I'll do a little bit of the tree embellishment, and then I might do just a little bit of stitching here to show you how I'm going to embellish it. And then the other stuff that I'll do off camera, and I'll show you this finished in next week's video. Okay, so I'm not going to do the whole tree. I'm just going to show you sort of the idea. All right, so people who've done our first project will know exactly what couching is because it was one of our sampler stitches. But basically you can have any kind of fibre or thread, so things like this, and you stitch over it to hold it in place. So the rickrack is going to sit on the surface of the tree, and I will just do a straight stitch. Just trying to hold down the end here. Just a straight stitch to hold it in place. Just want to get my angle, want it on a little bit of an angle. So down to there. Just checking him on screen, yes. So a straight stitch across. And I'm just holding the rickrack with my thumb so that I keep it in place and it doesn't move. Okay, so over the top. Not even sewing through the rickrack, the stitches over the top will make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Sorry, that was just my drink bottle. Now what I'm thinking with my tree, I'm going to put all my little trims on, and then I'd like to come up with an idea for putting some baubles on my tree. I think you might have seen Rach do some, so I could do them in buttons, I could do them in little tiny pom-poms, I could do them in little bits of like trim, like if you had little flowers or something, you could stitch them on like baubles. Or I'm thinking I might even fussy cut some little flowers in circles and have them round like a bauble and stitch them down. I've just got to find a suitable fabric for that. And thinking of actually doing little tiny circles, and maybe even tucking under the raw edge. So needle turn applique. That I'll show you if I do decide to do that. I'm just going to see what all the trims look like first if I decide to do that. I'll show you that next week. The other thing I was thinking, you could also put bells, little bells on if you had small bells. They could look really cute as well. I have some bells, but the ones I've got are probably too big. I did have some really tiny ones years ago, but I don't know if I've still got them. Again, who knows where they are? I don't know. They might turn up one day. And by the way, Juju's in Sydney. She's staying with my brother. She's helping my brother today. She looked after his little boys because my sister-in-law went off to where'd she go? Perth or something, or Adelaide, I can't remember. She went somewhere for work, just for the day. So mum stayed with, I think she just went for the day. Mum's stayed with my brother just to help him with his little boys, and it's, you know, mum having some nice time with her little grandsons. They're super cute. And so we had dinner with mum tonight and the little boys and my brother. And whilst I was out at the shopping centre at Westfield, I made mum bring her stitching, and I just did a little video for you. So I'm going to pop it up. Some of her pages are done, some she's still working on, but you can see where she's at with her first 3 pages. Okay, so I'll pop that up at the end. All right, there's a little bit of trim. Okay, so I don't want to do red and red because I just had red rickrack. I've got different rickracks too, so I might So I think Rach used her like wool cord. I've got some of that cord that she gave me. I love that cord. I was thinking of using it, but then I don't want to do the same as Rach because I want you to see different ideas. So I'm not going to use that one. That's why I've gone for something a bit different. All right. Why don't we go with, no, don't want to do pink. I might go with this, aqua blue. So some of these are crochet cottons. This one, I think, it's a Coats brand. Got a lot of old Coats threads. I think this was a crochet cotton. Some of them are just perlé cottons, some are crochet cottons, but it's really similar kind of thing. So I'm doing the exact same technique, the couching straight over the top. If you've got it hanging a little bit over the edge, you can always just trim that edge off at the end if it's bugging you. You could use any kind of wools to decorate your tree and couch them down. Some kind of wool that's a little bit chunky, like I've got this little scrap piece of wool which has got some nice texture you could use. If you had a thinner wool, you might even double it over, or fold it over several times to give yourself some texture. I'm definitely going for some texture on my tree. I didn't want my tree just to be plain, I want it decorated. Wouldn't it be cute if you had lots of little charms, that's a bit big, that one, but they could be like your Christmas decorations, or using even one of those eyelash wools or fluffy wools, bits of chenille, chunky chenille. Mum's got some lovely chunky chenille. I got it for her at the Cruel Goblin in Sydney. It's quite a chunky one. Like this is a chenille. That's a chenille wool. Could use that kind of thing. But she's got quite a chunky one, which I think she used for her caterpillar body. Then this is just a piece of wool. Like any of these, in fact, all these types of things I should keep handy, because I might even just do different colours, different textures, different colours. They all look really good. So you don't need anything fancy. Just some chunky knitting wool would work really well, fluffy knitting wool. fluff everywhere. All right, might just do one more stitch on the end just to make sure it stays down. So I've gone all the same directions, just pulling out these bits that are on my desk, wondering if maybe I should cross it over and go in a different direction, not that one. Let's have a look at this blue piece of, oh, I've got a bit cut off. It's all fluffy. I kind of, I don't know, do I want a different direction? Crossing over. See, on that one it's quite narrow. I might only get one piece in there. Blue doesn't stand out enough on that. How about the red? Yeah, the red would look good. I think I'll just do one there because it's not a very wide piece of green. Let's change the thread colour. I think I'll go to a green. Let's have a look at what greens I've got in front of me. Yeah, I like this old one. This one's a bit mixed. All right, I don't think you need to keep seeing me do the same thing because you get the idea. I'm not going to do that one right now, actually. What I thought I might do is just show you a little bit of how I would embroider this. So I'm going to pause you for a sec while I pull out some threads. I'm going for just plain standard stranded cotton threads, and I might just work a little bit on this flower to show you how I do that. So I'll be back in one sec. Okay, so just a very quick thing at the end here. I've just pulled out some different shades that I think will fit in with this flower here. So this darker one can go where the darker bits are and so on. I'm just going to show you quickly how I do this. So the amount of strands you use is totally up to you and the look you're going for. Sometimes I go for 6 strands, sometimes I go for 2, sometimes 3. I think on this one I'm going to go in the middle and I'm going to use 3 strands of my cotton. So to show you, I didn't do it before, but this is a much easier way. If you actually split your cotton in the middle, so just pull it apart and find your strands, is actually easier to split from the middle than run from one end all the way down. That was much easier than my last one, although it wasn't an old thread that I was using. So it could be the reason why it was getting a bit tangled. Okay, so just doing my quilter's knot, wrapping it around and running it down the needle. I'm looking for these darker shades here to do, and there's a few bits there. I might just play around with this middle part and then you'll get the idea, and I will come back and do the rest later. So all you're doing is straight stitches, long and short ones. In any direction you want, you are pretty much painting the fabric with thread, which is how I always describe it. Okay, that dark center there, I'll pick another color later on. I'm going to do a bit of this dark shade of sort of pinky red. Now, as I said, go in any direction you want. I tend to look at the colouring on the fabric, and I just kind of follow what I think looks like the natural lines of the petal. Okay, so three strands are thick enough for this one. It's such beautiful fabric. I do have more, so don't worry that I'm going to be covering it in thread. I actually often buy fabrics just because they've got really beautiful flowers on that I know I can do this to. And sometimes I don't even like the colours of the fabric, but I know that I can just use the design and stitch over it with my threads, and you won't see the colours underneath necessarily, but it's just a beautiful design. I'm just looking for touches of that dark colour. There's a tiny bit there. A little chunk here. And then all you do, and I have showed this on camera before, is you just change your thread colour and you just follow the colours on the fabric. And I don't necessarily completely cover the fabric in thread, like where all the white parts are or the lighter creamy parts, I will probably leave them unstitched. So you don't have to do absolutely every little piece of fabric covered in stitches. You do not have to do that. So I'll just finish these darker bits, and then I'll switch to one of the other colours. And then that will do me for tonight. I think the video is long enough. You get the idea of all the techniques I'm using on this one. And at the end, I'll pop JuJu's video, which isn't too long. I only filmed it for a few minutes, not too long. Okay, so that will do for that colour. There's a bit more like here, there and everywhere, but I'll do that later. Just want to finish this off to show you. Okay, so let's have a look at another colour. So we do have another sort of darker, I've got a pinky red that will fit in there. Oh God, I've just wrecked my cluster. Picking it up, didn't mean to. Okay. Okay, sorry, it took me a little minute there to get my needle threaded. Okay, so now I'm looking for the second darker colour of pink, and I'm just filling it in, layering the threads on top of where the colour is. So when I was saying before that you can actually change, if you don't like the colours on the fabric, you could change them. Like I might decide that I want more green in those leaves to make it more Christmassy. And so I could cover up that purple. I'm not decided yet. I think what I'll do is I'll stitch the flowers, focusing on pinky reds, so it's kind of a Christmassy feel. And then I'll see what I think and how it looks, and if I want to add in some green onto the leaves. I do like the purple, so I might decide to keep it there. So just stitch wherever you feel you need to. Even crossing it over a little bit, just blending it in a bit. All right, so I think you've got the idea of painting with thread. Just finish this little chunk of colour, and then that will do. All right, so just show you up close. Let me focus you, give me a sec. There we go. So you probably can't tell too much. Once it's all done, you'll be able to tell better. There's a bit of stitching in there. All right, so I'm going to leave my block where it is at the moment and work on that a bit more. As I said, I will probably do my cluster on video, possibly on the weekend. I will have some time, or pretty busy, but we'll find some time. And then, so this was my idea for my cluster. This was literally just the bits I threw together to give you an idea of what clusters were. And then when I threw these together, I liked how they worked, and Rachel actually said the same. She really liked it too. So I'm thinking that we'll put this somewhere on the page. I'm thinking in my cluster. And then I got lots of buttons. Like, this is just some buttons. These are just some bits and pieces I got at the sewing basket recently. I love little buttons. They're really nice buttons. 40 cents. 50 cents for some blue ones. So I love, look at, there's some really pretty ones in there. That was $1. Like that one. So I might even put, that's a nice button. Might put that one on. I might even put some buttons. Look at those tiny ones. I love tiny buttons. I might even put some buttons in my cluster. I've got some sequins. Got some sequins that are good for Christmas. Some beads, like they probably cost me 20 cents or something. $1. 50 cents. They're a nice colour. Look at that bright orange. It looks like Fanta. 30 cents. So these were just some little bits. They're like pearl buttons. They're actually heavy. Good bit of weight about them. They're 50 cents. Even doing them on the reverse, there's nice colours there. 20 cents. 30 cents. So yeah, I went there the other day, and, well, a few weeks ago. They're pearl ones. They're like shell. Sorry, not pearl. 45 cents. I went there the other day $2 for a bigger bag. And I got a bunch of buttons. I tried to find all their small ones. So I will be embellishing further, and I still don't know what I'm going to do here. I feel like I need to add something here. So we'll work that out. It'll get more decorated. The tree will be decorated. I'll have maybe little baubles on it. So I'll come back and show you that. I'll do some work on it probably on the weekend. All right, see you soon. Bye. All right, so this is Juju's book. I think, Rach, you sent this book to Mum. It's a really beautiful book. I'm just showing you the front cover so you can see what Mum's working in. Sorry about the wonky filming. I'm at Westfield. So this is her first block where she's done her deer. Now I'm just going to zoom in so you can see some of the detail and the different textures that Mum's got. That's a little pocket there, and her tag's inside that. We'll see that in a minute. And her little deer is made out of felted wool. Okay, so she's done some lovely embroidered berries and holly and stuff like that up the top. And then this is Mum's tag. So a cute little fluffy Santa with his nose poking through his fluffy beard. And a little red bell on the top. And on the back, Mum has kept this tag just plain. So that goes in the pocket. None of Mum's pages are attached at the moment. She is just working on them bit by bit, following along with the prompts, and then she'll attach them later on and work out how she wants to do that. So this is her wreath page, her second page, and she's got a fabric bow stitched down. So that curl there can't move because she's stitched the end in place, so to hold it all in the position that she wants it in. And she's used some felted wool, and it looks like felt as well. She's got a mix there. The red berries and the plain green leaves look like felt, and then the patterned leaf looks like a felted wool. Okay, so I'm just showing you some of the details. It looks like she's got some chunky French knots, some gold beads in some of the berries as well. And she stitched the word peace up the top there, which I think might have been a stamp that Rach has done for Mum. Alright, so I think I went too many pages over. Yep, coming back to one of her Christmas trees. So she's cut this tree out of an old piece of quilt. And she's done a little bit of embellishing. I think she's still working on this page. So that's a wooden heart and some gold thread and some bells. And she's stitched a little star on the top there. So I'm pretty sure Mum's still working on that page. Now this is a second Christmas tree page. There we go, it's in focus now. And Mum has cut out some old bits of fabric. She's stitched down some pieces of doily and done some different stitching, cantha stitching. That's a little cluster that Mum's made, little cluster of red, white and blue. Very simply stitched down, just layers of fabric, and it gives you some gorgeous texture. And that will be a little tab as well. So Mum's doing a cluster and a tab. So this last page is just something she's just started working on. She hasn't actually added any feature to that yet. And then the rest of it's just bits and pieces of fabric in her book that she's ripped up and ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed seeing Mum's Mum's Journal of Stitchery, and I will see you again soon for the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.